The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
It is magic time. Hello, and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show. I am one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
I'm the other host, Warren Van.
Episode 54 of the Warren and Bradley Show.
What was that?
It was a laugh of joy and anticipation, knowing that we're going to be putting out a great show for our audience.
Right.
Speaking of our audience, we do love you, Warren and Bradley Show listeners. Why don't you show a little love for the Warren and Bradley Show by telling a friend about the show if you enjoy it, and also keep those missives coming to listener feedback. Write to us at podcast@warrenandbradley.com. You can also contact us through our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Warren and Bradley.
Do it for Brad so he can see those numbers go up a little bit, and it'll make him much happier.
Well, we want to interact with our audience. People actually have been sending in links to stories and things like that, which we like. But we also like questions and comments and things. It doesn't necessarily even have to be. A lot of people like sending in Celebrity Minute tips for us. Keep us apprised.
If there's anything you want to hear about celebrity related, make sure you send it in. We'll give you
we actually
our
have
analysis.
a good celebrity story that 2 different listeners sent in during the last week. So we'll definitely get to that during our Celebrity Minute portion of the podcast. But first of all, Warren.
Yeah?
What's been going on with you?
Not much.
Is that answer ever any different?
No, I can't imagine. Nothing really ever happens to me. I did work this week.
Oh, yes. You got called into your old job.
Yes.
They were in desperate need of your expertise.
So I headed in there and I gave my expertise to them.
How did that go?
It was fine.
I know you were maybe worried they would try to make it more permanent.
I think I will be working for a while now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
5 days a week, or?
Yeah, I guess so. I think maybe my extended vacation makes me feel a little bit better now.
Maybe.
And I can actually go to work again.
Really? So
Yeah.
for the foreseeable future?
For the foreseeable future, I think. That's what it looks like right now.
Anytime you think you're out. So they pulled you back in?
They pulled me back in.
Did they give you a bump at least a little bit?
I did negotiate some issues.
42 cents
Yeah,
an hour
I wish.
more.
I wish I could get that precious 42 cents. No, but there were some work condition issues that I
Right,
resolved.
because basically they had kept piling responsibilities onto you and not paying you any more money was your issue before, right?
Mostly it was just the fact that I was just sick of going to the place all the time.
Yeah.
And some of the people that I had to deal with on a daily basis. But, some time away from it sort of gave me some perspective. Mm-hmm. It's different when you're there at a place for years, right?
Right.
And basically spend your entire life there.
Mm-hmm.
And you start to get really sick of things, and things build up, and you're like, I can't do this anymore. I can't be around these people or in this place anymore.
Right.
But after a few months off, I decompressed, and I'm maybe ready to work a little bit again.
You're coming out of retirement.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Maybe. Sort of.
No, it's fine.
Were you getting bored during your extended sabbatical? How did you fill your days? We've never really talked about this.
I was doing a lot of reading.
So typical Warren retirement day, what time would you get up in the morning?
I was still getting up pretty early. Well, actually, it was later now. The weather's bad. But when the weather was good during the summer, I would get up early in the morning, maybe get some coffee.
Like what time were we talking?
Maybe 7 or 8.
Okay.
Go get some coffee, come back to the house, read the news, maybe watch a movie, read a book, go for a walk with the dog. There wasn't a lot to it. I wasn't doing much of anything. So,
You weren't working on your ship in the bottle or anything like that?
By the time we got into a week or so ago, when someone contacted me about coming back in temporarily, I was like, I guess I can do that.
You had sucked all the marrow you could out of doing absolutely nothing.
Well, the other thing, too, is you stop working and you think, well, maybe I'll summon some energy for other activities.
Right.
Now I won't be working, but that's not true. I just kind of felt like I just laid around and did nothing.
Well, I have noticed that if you do, not that I ever have any real extended length of time off, maybe sometimes in the winters when work slows down.
Yeah.
What happens to me is if I do have a big block of time, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to fill this with all these different projects, things that I want to try to get
Yeah.
done. When you do have time, you kind of put things off because you're not thinking about the crunch. And
Yes.
so like now when I'm working 5 days a week, my weekends are completely filled with little things that I think I need to get done. And
Yeah.
I'm always very regimented about trying to do these things. But I think if I were to have a couple weeks off in a row, I probably wouldn't do anything at all.
Oh, it really like slows your pace down.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things too where like the slightest little inconvenience or having to do something really feels onerous when you haven't been working for a while. You're like, ugh, I don't want to do anything ever.
How did this work with the girlfriend thing? Because I can still vaguely remember being in relationships
Yeah.
in the past, long ago.
The 90s.
And I don't think I ever was in them. Yeah, maybe. And the idea that you have to have time for the girlfriend, and if you're working and you're busy, you can always be like, oh, you know what? I've got these things to do. I've got this responsibility. But when you're not, you have no responsibility whatsoever.
Yeah.
You really don't have an excuse to not do everything your girl tells you to do exactly when she tells you to do it.
Sort of, yeah, but at the same time, if you're not working during the day, when the girlfriend or everyone else you know too is working, it's not like they can call on that time for you to do things.
Yeah, but you can't use the excuse of, oh, I need some time to myself to get these things done that I need to do, you know?
No, you can't. You
Because-
can't say that. Oh, I'm working on something. I didn't have any time to do it today.
Right. So basically your 3-hour bubble baths every day are going to come to an end. Your
It's
me
weird
time.
though because I think back on like what did I do? What were my days like? You know, and it just kind of there wasn't a lot to it.
Yeah.
But if you think about like any time in your life, like what's your routine or what's your like normal day?
Yeah.
And it's weird to think about because it can really change, but it doesn't make that much of an impact in your life.
It's really depressing to think about. I've been thinking about it recently because basically the normal Bradley day, I get up at 5:45 in the morning.
Yeah.
I make coffee. I sit around drinking coffee and smoking, looking at email, looking at the Facebook page, doing
Yeah.
things like that. Go to work, have my soul crushed for a good 8.5, 9 hours, come home, and by the time I'm home now, since it's winter time, it's dark, I look on the internet for a little bit, try to decompress a little bit after work, then I work out for like a half an
yeah.
hour to 45 minutes. By the time I'm done with that, it's usually time to edit some of the podcasts because I edit probably
Yeah.
about 3-4 nights during the week. By the time I've done a good block of that, I take a shower. By the time I'm done with that, it's time to eat. By the time I'm done with that, I've got maybe an hour and a half until I need to go to bed because I have to get up so early the next morning. It's
Yeah.
like none of it's particularly fun. None of it's particularly fulfilling. Not really anything to ever look forward to. There's nothing I can look at in the future and say,
Yeah.
oh, well, when I get to go on my vacation
Yeah.
or maybe I'm going to go on a date with somebody or do something.
Yeah.
There's nothing. It's just an unending road laid out in front of me without any variation in the scenery
Until you
whatsoever.
eventually die.
Yeah.
But that's life, you know.
I don't think it is for everybody. I think some people have things
But
that
I
they
think
look
that
forward to.
no. But I do think it has more to do with like your attitude of what your life is than it has to do with like what your life is.
Maybe.
I'm pretty
But,
sure.
Well, but there are things I do enjoy or
Yes.
I have enjoyed in the past, but I just don't have anything like that right now.
You have nothing you enjoy right now?
Not really.
Really?
Not a whole lot.
What about your game where you like mine on a video game and
Yeah,
stuff?
maybe it's fun, but it's not something that I'm
Well,
gonna
that's
get really
you
excited
enjoying it,
about.
right?
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
Maybe you need some sort of hobby that you can derive joy from.
Well, I mean, I have hobbies.
Do
I
you
think
have joyless hobbies that you treat like work?
there's that condition, what's it called? Anhedonia, where you're unable to derive pleasure
Yes.
from anything. Yeah. I think I have that.
You have that? Well, it depends on what you're talking about with pleasure, too. I think you get some sort of like sense of satisfaction when you do things, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel as though I've accomplished things, but if I think about it too much, then I realize that the things I've accomplished are completely meaningless.
But that's true. That'd be true if you were doing anything.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's completely
Well,
true.
I think if I had accomplished, having sex with a beautiful and attractive woman,
Yeah.
then I wouldn't think that was meaningless.
But it is meaningless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. So I can't remember. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago we had the section on the paper that had been published about how people are evolving to become stupider.
Yes.
And actually, listener Jed had sent in a couple articles also that were basically agreeing with the conclusions that the study had come to. And I also had some anecdotal evidence as to people getting stupider. I was at the store the other day, And it was one of those times, depending on your mood, sometimes you can see people's foibles as amusing, and sometimes people you want to rip your eyes out and throw them at people.
True enough.
I was at the grocery store, and it was actually, I think, right before Thanksgiving, so it was just slam-packed with people everywhere. This is the kind of thing, I always get one of those little tiny carts.
Oh, the little ones?
Yeah.
That you're supposed to take outside?
Yeah, the little baby ones. Or I get either the basket or just the little cart.
I always get a basket. I have never used one of those little carts.
Well, sometimes I get a 24-pack of Dr. Pepper, and I don't want to lug that
it's better to have
everywhere.
something, a little cart,
So I'll get the little cart, and I'm pushing it around, and the grocery store is just slam, bam, full of people, most of whom are morbidly obese.
Yeah.
Some of whom have two carts, kind of like a wagon train, pushed together, just piled with food.
Oh, they're like in between, and they have like one cart in front of them,
Right,
one
they're
cart
pulling
behind them.
one and pushing one behind them, just clogging up all the aisles. And it's the kind of thing where, in my daily life, I'm always very aware of inconveniencing people, being polite. If I see somebody's trying to get by in an aisle or at a sidewalk, I step out of the way. I try to make room for people. This particular trip to the grocery store, it was just constantly me trying to weave through this wave of human flesh with my tiny little cart. People would be walking in front of you and then just stop dead in the aisle and just stand there like, looking back and forth like a cow. And you're standing behind them waiting. You're like, excuse me. And they might turn around and slightly acknowledge your presence, and then their moving out of the way is to move a fraction of an inch in either direction and not getting out of your way at all. So I was getting irritated. When I'm at the grocery store, I want to go. I don't want to
bang.
I'm not browsing around. I know what I'm going to get. I know where it is. I just want to get to it and get the fuck out of there. By the time I finally got to the self-checkout, I was going insane because the self-checkout is supposed to be 15 items or less. And it's for people who want to get through quickly. And they also have the express lane, which says around 12 items or less.
And ideally, with the self-checkout, it's supposed to self-select like people who can like do like a minimal thing, like actually check out their own groceries.
Right.
You'd hope those would be the people that would get in that line.
Yes, it's not difficult. The screen
it's
explains
very
exactly
simple,
what
but
you're
of course,
supposed to do.
Some people can't figure out anything, and those people should not get in the self-checkout line.
So I noticed the self-checkout was totally slammed with people with giant shopping carts filled with shit. And I'm like, okay, this is not the way this is supposed to be used. But
constantly calling for help because they can't figure out how to put in some produce or something.
Exactly.
So it takes twice as long as it would.
They'll be sitting on the weight. There's the place where the bags are supposed to be. And they're sitting on it, and it's like, error. I don't know. They
get really confused,
So then there's the express checkout. It's supposed to be 12 items or less, and it also has a sign that says, have checks ready. Every single one of the express checkout lanes was filled with people with giant shopping carts overflowing with shit, and it drives me insane. I know that after a while as a checker you probably just go fuck it, you throw your hands up, because you can't be telling every single person, this is supposed to be 12 items or less. It's supposed to be for people who are in a hurry, who want to get in and out. So I finally got into one of the lanes that seemed less than others. There was a woman in front of me. She had the two shopping carts piled high with shit, and she was taking so long just taking the things out of her cart. Every item she would take out of her cart to put onto the conveyor belt, she would stare at and contemplate and then put it in front of her. So finally I went, and she turned around and looked at me and saw there was a huge line behind her, did not register whatsoever that there was anybody waiting. And so I made a comment, this is the express lane. And she went, huh? The express lane, 12 items or less. And the checkout girl gave me a look like, like she wanted me to tell this woman. The woman looked up at the sign, and I could see her sort of mouthing the words that were written on the sign. Just looked back at me again with a blank expression. This is supposed to be for people with less than 12 items. Did not register at all. It was like I was speaking another language. So after this chick went through, her daughter and son came up. Or actually, it wasn't her son. I thought it was her son originally. And they had a whole cart full of shit. And I guess she was holding their place in line for them.
Oh.
Even though it was a separate transaction, but they came and got in front of me in the line. I was like, I was here, and like, oh, she was holding this for me. And then proceeded to the chick who, she saw like an Us Weekly or some magazine that was sitting on the shelf. And while the checker was waiting for them to put their things on the conveyor belt, she picked up the magazine and started leafing through it and commenting on everything that was on every single page. Like, look at this dress. This dress is beautiful. Oh my God, fudge cake. I would like to marry fudge cake. Fudge cake is so good. Oh, look at that. That's sparkly. And then her friend, who I guess was just like a gay friend of hers, I found out later that it wasn't actually her brother. he started making comments as well. They started talking about how cute all the boys were on the paper on the page. There's 20 people in line behind these people, not paying any attention. I finally get out into the parking lot. The parking lot is set up so there are lanes. One lane of the parking lot goes one way.
Well, they're slanted. The parking spots are slanted.
The parking spots are slanted.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to go one way and then you pull into the parking spot. I pull out and I start driving. Giant woman in an SUV pulls in, going the wrong direction. I stop because I can't go any further.
Yeah.
She stares at me and just sits there. And it's like this retarded Mexican standoff. I'm trying to motion her to get the fuck out. She's not budging. I can't budge because there's someone behind me waiting. I stood there for 10 fucking minutes while this woman just sat there in her... I don't know what she expected me to do. It's just... there are certain rules that I follow because they make sense.
Yeah.
I'm not some little geeky Poindexter who follows rules just because I think you have to follow rules.
But their rules exist for a reason, lots of them.
Some of them do. Some of them are pointless. Some of them, if I know that there's no one in authority who could actually punish me for doing something, I will ignore them. I'll go across crosswalks when it's
or maybe run a red light at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Perhaps, because I know that it's not going to cause any problems. I know what the spirit of the law is, but I can bend it sometimes when I know that it makes sense. Laws like this, where the parking lot isn't going to get plugged up by idiots, that makes sense. It's not even a law, a rule. Again, it goes back to the idea that people are so self-absorbed and don't realize that they're living in a world with millions of other people. And for our society to work, you have to have some sort of regard for those people and know that what you do affects other people.
It is infuriating.
It's like we're surrounded by 12-year-olds or 10-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 7-year-olds. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're all just selfish and crazy. They don't know what the fuck's going on.
That's extremely selfish. It's something you're supposed to learn when you're in kindergarten, right?
Yeah.
That you don't act in that way. It's like the thing when you're on the freeway and you're merging and everyone has to merge over into one lane.
Right.
The civilized people, the people who understand that they are living in a society with other people like them.
Right.
They merge over as quickly as possible, right?
Yes.
And they get in that left lane. The other people charge 2 miles ahead in the right lane. The right lane is empty because everyone's moved over to the left lane because that's what the signs are telling you to do.
Yes.
And then try to cut in at the very end.
Last second.
Which it always pleases me very much when someone in a giant truck comes out and blocks those people over and is like, you can't do that.
Yeah, fuck
and the
you.
person in the car gets really angry. And everyone sees that truck, though, is very pleased. They're like, this is how we work in society. The reason that lane is empty is because everyone else is not being an asshole. Mm-hmm. You're just going to be an asshole and cheat and get ahead of everyone else?
This is a subject that we've touched on many times. I think it's a common theme in the show. It's that people acting like assholes, acting like selfish pricks, not getting their comeuppance enough. It needs to happen more often. People need to be empowered, not to go out of their way to be rude or aggressive towards people, but we need to not just let things go all the time.
Well, it's just that problem of, like, shame, right?
Yes.
Feeling any shame at all.
We need to shame people more often.
And if, like, I got in an express lane with way too many items and someone, like, had to talk to me about it, it would be a very, like, awkward situation. I would never make that mistake again.
This is a thing that I'm more and more often I'm noticing about our society is that people do not feel embarrassed about being selfish. They don't feel any shame. You can point out to somebody that they have just done something incredibly rude and they'll go, whatever.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah.
I don't understand that mentality whatsoever.
It's strange.
I don't know if this is interesting, entertaining, funny to anybody. Probably not, but it's really been annoying me lately. And so it's put me in that mood. I actually had another encounter just noticing the idiocy of people and noticing their selfishness. There was this woman who had a dog.
Yeah.
It was like a piece of carry-on luggage that she had that was made for a dog to sit in.
Uh-huh.
She was in the grocery store with this dog, sitting in this little, like, cart.
Like lunchbox thing.
Sort of, but it was like, it was pretty big. And it was it was like I don't even know what breed it was. It was
Maltese?
No, it was a bigger dog. It wasn't like a little purse dog.
Oh, wow.
It was some kind of weird mutt. Looked like maybe it was part Cocker Spaniel or something like that.
Yeah.
It was sitting in this thing. She was walking down the aisles, pulling this thing along, obstructing everyone who was trying to get around in the store. And so I made the comment to her in a very polite way, but if she were someone who had any sort of self-reflection whatsoever, she would realize what I was saying. But since she has none, she didn't. I was like, oh no, did your dog hurt itself? Is it not able to walk?
Yeah.
And she went, oh no, he just likes being in his cart. He likes to be pulled around in his cart. And I went, oh, I thought he was hurt. And that's why he's in the cart. I thought he couldn't walk.
Yeah.
And she was just completely oblivious to what I was saying.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, there you
Typical.
go.
Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Well, the silly celebrities have not disappointed this week. We have a myriad of stories, one of which two listeners sent in, so we'll be sure to get to that at some point during this segment. First of all, Warren, you brought something to my attention that I had not seen.
Yes, but my return to work brought this to my attention because this was the talk of my workplace for a little bit.
People were buzzing about this?
People were buzzing about this because it involves Canada, and one of my fellow employees is a Canadian. So, yeah.
So, basically, the story is Justin Bieber met the Canadian Prime Minister. He was receiving a medal. It was actually the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal, an award that honors significant contributions and achievements by Canadians. He met the Canadian Prime Minister, and a little bit of controversy erupted after a picture was posted of this meeting in which Justin Bieber was wearing some overalls. With the strap down, kind of like if you see an old Looney Tunes and they have a hillbilly with like one of those jugs that have X's on it.
Yes. Or he kind of looks like a child trying to dress up as a construction worker or farmer or something.
He's got a ridiculous hat on backwards.
He's got the one strap overalls, which was sort of hot back in the 80s, I think, when we were kids.
Yeah. What was the scuttlebutt around the water cooler?
Well, I think that it was about the backlash to this photo, the fact that maybe Bieber wasn't being as respectful of the Prime Minister of Canada because he was dressed like a tool when he met him.
Did the people think that was the case, or were they...
I think they thought that was the case. But I mean, people like to make fun of Bieber because Bieber
is an idiot.
And so, and Bieber does something like an idiot, so people like laugh about it and make fun of him.
We'll post this picture online, obviously, after the furor over this picture. I'm surprised that there even was any controversy over this. The fact that...
He is a head of state.
He is a head of state, but we have gotten so ridiculously, stupidly casual that I'm surprised that anyone has mentioned this at all. But you know my opinion on this. I think most people dress like fucking idiots, and especially these pop stars. You look at Justin Bieber. I know that he has stylists. I know he has handlers who are like, okay, let's think of the look for him. He used to have that ridiculous like feathered bowl cut that he had all the time. Now
he got rid of that. That's right.
Now he has this weird spiky hair. I think he was looking too female, and people were like, okay, you're 19 now. You need to not look like a 12-year-old girl.
You try to be a little bit boyish. Now you look like a 14-year-old boy.
And we were talking about Chris Brown last week wearing his pink baseball cap with like the straight... I mean, everyone looks like a fucking piece of shit. I would love it. I finally started watching Mad Men a little bit lately.
Yeah.
The show, I don't know. But in terms of style, the fact that if you had someone over for dinner at your house, you would wear a suit and tie because that was considered appropriate attire for entertaining guests. And I don't think we need to go back to that.
No, we don't, because that would be awful.
Well, for you, maybe. I would enjoy it.
But you would be the only one that enjoyed it, because who wants to get dressed up to have pizza at somebody's house?
Yeah, I know. But we don't need to go that far, but I think a certain amount of class has been dropped by the wayside in our society, and people another thing, in a grocery store, wearing their fucking pajamas and slippers as they're walking around at the grocery store. Put some fucking pants on, at least.
People are really into just wearing pajamas around nowadays.
For God's sake. Yeah, we had the pajama guy last week, too.
Yeah.
All right, next story. Because as we mentioned last week, we can't go a single week without mentioning Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan involved in a club brawl.
This is a shocker.
This is from Us Magazine. Lindsay Lohan, age 26, was arrested and charged with assaulting a fellow clubgoer while out at New York City hotspot Avenue early Thursday morning. This story comes courtesy of a special source for Us Weekly. Apparently, Lindsay was drinking a ton throughout the evening, not trying to hide it. She was drinking Grey Goose and also champagne. The vodka bottle was right in front of her.
Yeah.
At one point, Lindsay moved up to the VIP section. Apparently, Lindsay was seated right in front of the VIP section. Was not in the VIP section.
Well, she maybe she wanted to look like she was kind of in there, but she really wasn't.
She was trying to get a woman to move her coat and purse in order to make room for her, but the woman was ignoring Lindsay. Lindsay started yelling at her, and the woman told her to stop. Lindsay eventually huffed back to her table, furious. And apparently a separate altercation broke out between two club promoters, and Lohan used this brouhaha as an excuse to vent her own anger. Quote, Lindsay was standing on the couch at her table, which put her even with the woman seated in VIP above her. She turned around and clocked her in the face.
Jeez. My God.
I know that when somebody gets into a spiral of self-destruction...
Yes.
That they're not really thinking about what they're doing, but you would think that somebody who is supposedly trying so hard to get their career back on track, why?
It's got to be... We talk about the child stars, right? Falling apart. It has to be something about growing up and learning impulse control on some level.
Perhaps.
Which they never have to do. And the rest of us go through life learning we have to, like, restrain our desire to punch women in VIP sections because we would actually get in trouble for it. Whereas Lindsay's still working and she still has money, apparently, and nothing really ever happens to her.
Yeah, there will come a time when she's just uninsurable and she won't be able to work anymore.
Yeah, but I wonder at that time, will she be so far gone that she won't be able to save herself?
Oh, and we can just look forward to that occurring at some point. Okay, the big story this week, the one that several listeners wrote in to alert me of. I don't know if you've heard about this, Warren, but there was a Twitter feud between Chris Brown and comedian Jenny Johnson. You've not heard of this story at all?
No, but maybe I did hear something about this.
Okay, well...
There was some cussing or something involved, right? Yeah, okay, now I know.
Here's the story. Well, let me just read out the actual tweets that took place, and then we'll get into the fallout from the story. Jenny Johnson is a comedian. She has a blog. She has, like, I don't know how many Twitter followers she has, but she usually just posts comedic little insights into things. But she has been unswerving in the past on her criticism of Chris Brown, the fact that he kind of got off scot-free.
Yeah, kind of like my co-host.
Kindred spirit with me. And one night, Chris Brown posted a tweet that said... I look old as fuck. I'm only 23. And so Jenny Johnson responded at Chris Brown, I know, being a worthless piece of shit can really age a person.
There you go. That's fair enough.
Chris Brown noticed this tweet and responded and said, take them teeth out when you suckin' my dick, ho. But spelled ho, H-O-E, as in hoeing a garden hoe. Jenny Johnson responded, it's H-O, not H-O-E, you ignorant fuck. Chris Brown responded, I should fart while you're giving me top. Jenny Johnson responded, your mom must be so proud of you. Chris Brown's response, see, I don't even have to tell you what you already know. Thanks, ho. Her response, she posted a link to an MTV News article detailing the assault that Chris Brown perpetrated upon Rihanna and said, suck it. Chris Brown's response, Mom says hello. She told me not to shart in your mouth, wanted me to shit right on the retina. Her response...
Classy man.
Classy.
Wow.
And then apparently some of his
followers started going after her.
Team Breezy started giving her death threats on Twitter, saying that they were going to rape and stab and kill her.
You people are animals.
He said, let me leave this bitch alone. It's good to know my worth by listening to a bitch that is worthless. Her response, okay, I'm done. All I got from that exchange with Chris Brown is that he wants to shit and fart on me. I have zero respect for a person who seems unapologetic for the terrible crime he committed and shows no sign of changing. After this exchange, Chris Brown tweeted a few more times, further prove my point on how immature society is.
Oh, yeah. You have done that by
calling the
tweets.
Kettle. To Team Breezy, know that I'm not upset. Just felt like entertaining the ignorance. These
Team
bitches
Breezy?
crazy.
Team Breezy is his followers?
Yes. Back to life. Just ask Rihanna if she mad. And then he deleted his Twitter account.
Oh, good for him.
He's off Twitter. As
He'll be back.
As far as I know, he's not back yet. Obviously, we can see what kind of amazing wordsmith Chris Brown is. It's hard for me to even talk about him. And not just him, but just the state of our popular culture and popular entertainment. This guy is a developmentally subnormal, intellectually subnormal, fucking idiot, woman-beating piece of shit with no talent whatsoever.
Yeah.
But he's a multi-millionaire, multi-platinum selling recording artist.
Yeah.
He's got a legion of fans who defend everything he does. When he beat the shit out of Rihanna, there were people tweeting, female fans of his tweeting, oh, he could beat the shit out of me anytime. He's so sexy. He's so hot. He's a piece of shit. And when he is confronted by the truth on Twitter, someone who obviously was trying to get a rise on him, he not only takes the bait, but he proves 1,000 times over how big of a piece of shit he is.
Well, if you want to talk about somebody not having any consequences to their actions, there will be no naked ramifications for Chris Brown.
Let's just go back, if we will, to the original search warrant and affidavit from the Los Angeles Police Department.
I thought we put this behind us last week.
I want to end this now.
Okay.
I want to end this now.
All right.
But let's just remind the listeners, what exactly happened on that night. This is reading from the police report. Christopher Brown and Robin F., being Rihanna, had been involved in a dating relationship for approximately 1.5 years. On Sunday, February 8th, 2009, at 00:25 hours, Brown was driving a vehicle with Robin F. as the front passenger on an unknown street in Los Angeles. Robin F. picked up Brown's cellular telephone and observed a 3-page text message from a woman who Brown had a previous sexual relationship with. A verbal argument ensued, and Brown pulled the vehicle over on an unknown street, reached over Robin F. with his right hand, opened the car door, and attempted to force her out. Brown was unable to force Robin F. out of the vehicle because she was wearing a seatbelt.
Yeah.
When he could not force her to exit, he took his right hand and shoved her head against the passenger window of the vehicle, causing an approximate 1-inch raised circular contusion. Robin F. turned to face Brown, and he punched her in the left eye with his right hand. He then drove away in the vehicle and continued to punch her in the face with his right hand while steering the vehicle with his left hand. The assault caused Robin F.'s mouth to fill with blood and blood to splatter all over her clothing and the interior of the vehicle. He is still a multimillionaire.
Yes.
He still has millions of fans.
Yeah.
He is still invited to award ceremonies. He is still accepted in the public eye.
Mm-hmm. You'd think there would be some stigma attached to him.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what has happened to our society. I don't understand. I know that, Frank Sinatra might have been kind of a dick in the 40s and 50s.
Bing Crosby, too.
Bing Crosby. They didn't shout it from the mountaintops.
Oh, it was like Joan Crawford, too, right? It was kept very quiet.
They didn't revel in the fact that they were assholes. And if anything, they tried to keep that out of their public image because they at least thought it was necessary to appear to have some sort of decorum. That's gone completely now. There is no decorum, there is no responsibility, and there are no ramifications for doing anything in our society anymore.
It's shocking.
And of course, the follow-up to this is, after all the Twitter bullshit, Rihanna posted another Instagram pic of her hugging Chris Brown and kissing him on his idiotic bald head.
And this picture, of course, makes you wonder who was taking the picture.
I'm assuming some assistant or something.
So they had an assistant come in and take a picture of an intimate moment.
Yes.
You've seen broadcast news, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's that kind of situation. It's like, if someone else is taking that picture, it's being used in a way to manipulate you. Oh no, what's this?
Oh, this is nothing. I was looking up videos for Minecraft.
I thought so.
That's not part of Celebrity Minute.
Leave that in.
All right, now that I'm completely...
Are you going to be... Can you cool down a little bit?
I'm cool. I've vented a little bit. I think I'm going to be fine.
All right, cool.
And I think we'll end Celebrity Minute there on the Warren and Bradley Show.
This has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show. They wander the streets, scavenging for loose change and discarded cigarette butts.
Spare $1
And give me a motherfucking cigarette.
Ran out of gas, ways back. Got me meth.
You smoke weed, don't you?
Good booze in the car.
I could use some change.
They may be mentally unstable and deserving of our charity, but that doesn't mean they can't be selected as the Warren and Bradley Show Street Freak of the Week.
All right, now, we've discussed before, as we've... oh no, you just peeked.
Yes.
As we've discussed in the past, the official rules for Street Freak of the Week don't necessarily say that the person nominated for Street Freak of the Week has to be homeless.
Okay.
Because if you parse the words in the title, it's Street Freak of the Week. So they can just be a freak who happens to be on the street.
I think you're worried about some litigation that's not going to occur.
No. I'm just worried that people might get kind of legalistic and say, oh, well, these people that you're talking about aren't necessarily homeless, so they can't be Street Freaks of the Week.
No one's going to do that.
They might. But this week we had two people who I don't think are homeless. I don't know. They were kind of borderline, but if I had to guess, I would say they weren't homeless.
Maybe group home people?
Maybe, but they were on the street and they were freaks.
Okay.
And they interacted with me.
Fair enough.
It was kind of disturbing. I had to have a stiff drink afterwards to sort of gather my wits about me.
Did you really?
No.
Okay.
I was on the street smoking my cigarette, watching people as usual. And one of the most... Now, I try not to be too mean when describing people.
Yeah.
Warren, you seem a little skeptical of that. But, you know... Two women walking down the street.
Yeah.
Mother-daughter, morbidly obese, to the point of they might need rascals very soon to actually get around.
They're going to have to cut into their bedroom to like haul them out with a forklift at some point.
They're going to have to get a crane and take the roof off. They'll have some sort of iron frame bed. They were gigantic, hugely morbidly obese, both wearing these kind of shapeless moo-moo things that still couldn't cover their bellies as they were wandering around. One of whom was a woman probably in her mid to late 40s. The other one was probably in her 20s. Just disturbingly fat.
Yeah.
And they were speaking very loudly to each other, every other word, like, fuck, goddamn, fucking piece of fuck, like really loudly as they were walking down the street. They stopped right in front of me, crowding me in my little area. Don't want them here. They're freaking me out. They're large. They're loud. One of them the mother gets her phone out of her pocket, dials a number. Hey, where the fuck are you? We're here. Where are you?
Yeah.
Where are you? We're going to go to the Rite Aid because I've got a yeast infection and I need to get it at the Rite Aid. So where the fuck are you? Hold on. There's a skinny guy's listening to my conversation. I'm like, oh, God. Puts the phone down.
Yeah.
Are you listening to my conversation? Well, it's sort of hard to avoid listening to the conversation. Hold on. Gets back on the phone. I have to go. I'm going. Where the fuck? We're going to be at the Rite Aid, okay? Hangs up the phone.
Yeah.
Why were you listening to my conversation? I wasn't really trying to listen. You just speak very loudly. How old are you?
Oh.
How old are you? Are you gay? No, I'm not gay. When was the last time you were gay with somebody?
Really?
Yes. I'm trying my best to recreate this conversation exactly as it took place. I have never been gay with anybody. I'm straight. You're straight! And with that, she gave a very significant look to her daughter. And her daughter sort of raised her eyebrows. Oh,
yeah.
Daughter raised her eyebrows and sort of gave her a significant look back. She turned to me. How tall are you?
Oh, yeah. Well.
I don't know. Why do you want to know? Come stand next to me. I want to see if I'm taller than you. This woman was maybe 5'3", so I'm almost a foot taller than her. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm taller than you. I'm quite a bit taller. Come here! She sidles up next to me and goes back to back. I'm like, I could feel the flesh of her back sort of enveloping me as she got next to me, and this overriding stench just invading my nostrils. And her daughter stands back a few feet and kind of appraisingly looks at us, sort of measuring the height back and forth.
They probably need like a ruler to like put on top to make sure she knows, or a level or something.
Her head probably came up to my mid-back level or something. And her daughter's like, he's taller. He's quite a bit taller. She steps away. Why are you so much taller than me? How tall are you?
Whoa, that's a weird question.
I'm 6'2". Why are you so much taller? Like, I don't know. I'm taller. How tall are you? I'm 6'2". Dwight Yoakam is 6'2".
Huh.
Really? I didn't know that. Yeah, he's 6'2". You know who else is 6'2"? No. Harrison Ford is 6'2". I'm like, I did know Harrison Ford was 6'2".
Oh, you didn't? You knew that already?
I did know that because I was obsessed with him as a child, and I wanted to be Indiana Jones. So I looked into how, and I was very pleased that I actually grew to be 6'2" because that's how tall I wanted to be. So I realized through this that she was hitting on me. Like, this was her way of
she put the moves on you.
She was putting the moves on me.
Yeah.
So after the Dwight Yoakam comment, she backed away a minute. Her phone rings, picks it up. Hello.
No, we're not at the Rite Aid.
Well, yeah.
I told you to wait there for me. Fuck, where the fuck are... Okay, I'm talking to the skinny guy.
And she hangs up the phone again.
What's your phone number?
Uh-oh.
I'm not going to give you my...
I have got a cell phone.
Yes,
Yeah.
I can see that you've been talking on the cell phone.
Give me your number and I'll call you and then you'll have my number.
I'm not going to call. I'm not. You don't need my phone number.
I have a cell phone too. Do
Yeah.
you have a cell phone? I'm like,
I don't have my cell phone on me
there
right
you go.
now. Phone rings
Oh.
as soon as I say
Amazing.
that. Yes. It's my brother.
Yeah.
Excuse me a moment. I answer the phone, talking to him. She's like, "Rah, rah, rah," in the background. Hang up the phone.
you said you didn't have a cell phone.
She's true. That's right.
Yes, you caught me. I do have a cell phone. I thought I had left it in my truck.
Okay, well, we have to go to the Rite Aid.
Yeah, yeast
Yes,
infection.
because of the yeast infection.
Yeah.
Yes, I heard.
Okay, well, you call me. Call me, okay?
Well, you have a cell phone, so you can call her, right?
Well, this was my way out because
Yeah.
I realized that maybe she had forgotten that she hadn't given me
Yeah.
her number. So it's like, okay,
I'll call you.
I will call you. And with that, she wandered away.
You missed the opportunity to be the other person on the other end of that phone. You know what I mean? You could have been that guy who's getting yelled
There
at.
was part of me thinking, okay, if I've been looking into trying to get live calls on the show and working out what hardware I would need and things like that. And part of me was thinking, if I got this woman's number, we could randomly call her during the
can't do
show.
that.
We probably can't do
No,
that.
that's-
And even if it were some sort of comedic masterpiece and we ended up calling this woman, the shit I would have to put up with on a daily basis because of that would probably not be worth it. I would be getting calls at 3 a.m.
I've got a yeast infection. Are you at the Rite Aid?
Yeah, maybe at the Rite Aid.
Oh my God.
Must have been frustrating for that person, too, who was trying to meet her, and then she wasn't at the Rite Aid after talking about the Rite Aid for so
Yeah,
long.
I got the impression it was a male for some reason, like maybe her poor boyfriend who she manhandles all the time, and he has to buy her, can't think of any name brand.
Monistat.
Monistat 7.
Yeah.
He's got just like a cupboard full of Monistat 7.
Well,
There are no other competitors for the title of Street
yeah,
Freak
but
of the
I
Week.
think definitely a winner right there.
All right, so congratulations, morbidly obese, yeast infection having disturbing woman. You've been selected as the Warren and Bradley Show.
We'll
Street
call
Freak of
you,
the
don't
Week.
call us.
Our hats are off to you, Mr. Homeless Man, because you've been selected as the Warren and Bradley Show Street Freak of the Week.
So talking about that street freak, the morbidly obese, yeast infection, monostat searching woman.
Oh, I remember, yeah.
Which just happened 2
Yeah.
minutes ago. What would you do? And I don't know how much you like your girlfriend being brought into our discussions or not, but
If she became that woman?
well, you know that there's some poor guy that's dating this chick. And I'm sure the guy himself isn't a winner if he's dating this woman and is buying Monistat 7 for her at the Rite Aid. But let's say you settle down with your girlfriend, who's nice and trim, very pretty right now. But what if she just let herself go like you wouldn't believe? And maybe she got pregnant, popped out the daughter, who I also saw on the street, got morbidly obese, developed a drug problem, some sort of alcohol addiction, and became this woman. And for some reason, instead of breaking up with her, you decided that you were compelled to stay with her.
apparently I have a child now.
You have a child now,
Yeah.
who is as large as you at the age of 4. What do you do? How do you react to this? I see this happen to couples sometimes as well, where one or the other members of the couple will put on
lets himself go.
huge amounts of weight or just let themselves go completely. And you might still love the person.
Yeah.
Maybe. If it's possible to love that thing. And what do you do?
I think if the personality, especially, kind of became that person you met on the street,
Well, it would have to if you...
I think that would be grounds for being like, you know what, I can't live with you anymore.
Uh-huh.
I can't, you know what I mean?
But you're the only one who can buy the Monistat 7 at the Rite Aid.
Apparently so.
And you have to feed the daughter. She's...
Yeah, which is very expensive, apparently, because I just have to keep shoveling food into this giant daughter. I don't think I agree with the premise that you just have to stay with someone forever and be miserable.
Yeah.
Just because that's something you're supposed to do.
Well, what if by chance you got married?
Yeah.
And let's say she doesn't turn into the Monistat 7
If
woman.
she turned into that woman, the marriage would be over.
But let's say your real girlfriend,
Yeah.
the person you're dating now,
Yeah.
you've been together quite a while,
Yeah.
and she just started packing on the pounds like you wouldn't believe. Like not even
Like in a gross way.
not even like morbidly obese, but just within a 6-month period, a major difference. Do you even bring it up? How do you react to that?
I don't know. I don't think it'd be a big a deal for me. It would be a big deal if it got to the point where it was like someone was wearing a muumuu and had to have a cane,
Yeah.
or a rascal or something.
So what do you do? How do you broach the subject, though? Would your reaction be to first try to maybe encourage her to take on a more healthy lifestyle? Or do you just immediately go, all right, you've crossed the threshold now,
Well, I
and
don't
I'm going to
think
break
the
up
thing
with you?
is, I don't think I'm dating someone would do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know if anyone thinks they are.
No, I think that person is that person before they get to that place. You know what I mean? It's not like any of us at any moment just walking down the street and the next day we just suddenly like snap and become really weird and start yelling at people on the street and become 500 pounds. You know what I mean? Unless we have some sort of traumatic brain injury or something.
Well, that could always happen.
Well, I mean, if that did happen, then that would make it more difficult, right?
Yes.
Because let's say the girlfriend gets like hit with an anvil or something on the
Yes.
head, and next thing you know, you're stuck. And this person is this person, right? Just stumbling around, flirting with skinny gay guys in the street, trying to buy Monistat, and I'm having to go pick her up everywhere with a big fat daughter. At that point, that's a very difficult situation. I'm
Because
sure
you're an asshole if you leave her.
Yeah,
at that
you're
point. Because she's suffered this traumatic head injury. She's put on all this weight. She has yeast infections
Yeah.
all the time, and you can't leave her in that state.
No.
What kind of a jerk does that?
But the thing about
And
that
maybe
is,
it was your fault that the
well,
anvil
yeah,
hit her
I
on
was
the head.
like pushing an anvil out of a second-story window, and it fell on top of her head. But I don't think it would affect the daughter. Hopefully, or they like bounced off her
that would
head
be,
and
that
hit the
would be
daughter.
fetal alcohol syndrome is
Yeah,
why the daughter.
It's tough though. I do know of situations where this has happened to people. Mm-hmm. Not, I mean, just like mental illness.
Yeah.
Or like drug or alcohol abuse or something. And the people feel like, well, I can't abandon someone, right?
Right.
Because I'm committed to this person. They're having a tough time. But also, at some point, you can't just live your entire life miserable just to maybe
In service to
in
this
service
person.
to this person's like problems. At some point, you have to like turn that person over to someone else, and maybe you help out with caring for this person.
Right.
But you don't have to live. You don't have to be miserable.
What's your threshold though? Let's say a weight threshold. Do you have a threshold? Does it get to a certain point where you're like, all right, baby, we need to have a tuck?
You're talking about like if it gets like gross like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I mean. There's like chunky, and there's like a little overweight, and then there's like morbidly obese. And if it gets some more,
help it. I'm getting fat. What do you want me to do?
I'd be like, I want you to stop eating as much. Because there's the other thing about, that, right, is that there is something you can do.
Ostensibly, yes.
Yeah. You can just stop shoveling it in constantly.
What if you're walking down the street?
Yeah.
Lo and behold, maybe a ninja of some sort brings out a samurai sword and cuts off both her legs below the knees.
Yeah.
And now she's crippled. She
Yeah.
has no legs below the knees. She can't walk around anymore. She's confined to a wheelchair. And it's a bit of a burden on you. Do you bail at that point?
No, you can't bail at that point, though, right?
Do you want to bail and you're just putting in time because you think it would be inappropriate to bail?
No, I don't think so. If I was in a relationship and I wanted to be with a person, the fact that they had to get artificial like legs or have a wheelchair or something probably wouldn't be a deal breaker.
But you know what would happen is if she couldn't get the right kind of prosthetics, maybe, I don't know, money-wise, or maybe the fact
I have
that
to put her in a baby Bjorn and carry her around.
Well, there's that first, but then she becomes so morbidly obese because she can't move
she can't
anymore.
exercise? Yeah.
So then she's legless and
This little, like,
hugely
ball.
fat, and then the fact that she never moves
Yeah.
anymore leads to lots of yeast infections.
Well, okay, I'll turn this around on you. Girlfriend paralyzed.
Uh-huh.
You gonna stick around?
How paralyzed?
Just paraplegic.
And what stage in the relationship were we when this happened?
You've been dating for 2 years, and you just got engaged like a couple weeks before, and then I'm messing around with an anvil at my house, and it falls and hits her in the back.
You have to be more careful with these
I know.
anvils,
I don't know
Will.
why I'm like. I should like maybe just slide the anvils down some sort of board rather than push
Your
them out the window.
blacksmithing hobby is sort of...
Yeah, or maybe do it on the first floor, maybe. But and she's like injured, right?
Yeah.
In a wheelchair.
Okay.
You gotta stick around for that, right?
Yeah, so there would probably be a catheter involved. Can she control her bodily functions?
Yeah.
She can control her
It's
bodily functions. But
the
I have
least
to
severe-
I have to pick her up and put her on
Yeah,
the
it's
toilet.
basically she's paraplegic in the sense that she just can't use her legs, but everything else works fine.
Oh, okay, so she can still use... Oh, not quadriplegic, paraplegic.
No, not... I'll push it to quadriplegic if you get past paraplegic.
Well, okay, so I know what the future holds.
Paraplegic is much easier than quadriplegic.
Paraplegic, for the sake of comedy, I would say, well, I would just dump her immediately, but I don't think I would actually do that. I think that if you love somebody, then you're willing to put up with the bullshit of having to wipe her ass for her and things. Well, she could probably wipe her
so to
ass.
speak.
Yeah.
But getting on the toilet and everything.
Yeah.
But it starts getting tricky, of course, when I push the anvil out and it hits her on the head and she's in like a coma. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, she could come back at any time. We'll keep her on the machine. And then she's there for years.
You give her 2 years. Then you have to get on with your life.
You go 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years.
Well, I think so. And two, I think society would probably be okay with that too, right?
I think so.
But what if 2 years go by, you start hanging out with some other girl, you've been dating this girl maybe for 2 months, you kind of like her, things are going pretty good.
Yeah.
She wakes up perfectly fine. What happens then?
Well, then I've got 2 girlfriends. And everyone's happy. She's happy because I stuck with her for 2 years, knowing that...
But you're seeing somebody else.
Yeah, but she knew that I put the 2 years in. So
but you can't date both of them.
Well, she can't fault me for that, and maybe she knows that...
She can't fault you, but what choice do you make at that point?
Well, the other girl... Well, hear me out.
Yeah.
The other girl was so impressed with how faithful I was to the girl who was in the coma for 2 years, that when the coma girl wakes up...
Yeah.
The new girl is like, well, I know that you probably should go back to your original girlfriend. The coma girl is like, you stuck by me for 2 years, and for payment for your faithfulness, you're going to have to date the both of us at the same time.
This is a wonderful scenario for you.
Yeah.
This is not something
that's going to happen. Well, it just shows that
happen.
being nice pays off in the long run.
But it doesn't. We've talked about Chris Brown today. Being an asshole pays off in the long run.
Yeah.
But if you had to make the choice, what do? You probably go back?
Maybe I should smother the coma girl then, and then if I want to do the Chris Brown route... Actually, she'd probably be in a coma because I beat her so severely if I were doing the Chris Brown route.
That's pretty dark. You have to stay with that person, I think.
Well, yeah. I've never had a girl like just let herself go and dated because we've never gotten married. I think that's the magic component to this equation.
Oh, that and like children too, which makes it very much harder to keep yourself in shape.
But I'm probably more prone to being irritated by weight gain just because
you are, because you're kind of like unnaturally obsessed with it.
Well,
I would say
it's what I'm attracted to. You know? And so if they got to the point where I was no longer attracted to my partner, and it wouldn't take a whole lot for that to happen, then it might be an issue.
A couple pounds,
but emotion, and that's the thing. It's when you first meet somebody, what I'm attracted to is a thin, lithe body.
Yeah.
But if I were in love with somebody, I'm sure that I would, they could gain a few pounds.
And it wouldn't be that big a deal.
Wouldn't kick them out of bed. But I maintain a weight very religiously.
Yeah.
And so I would be somewhat annoyed, even if I still love the person, was still staying with them. Be like, well, if I can do push-ups and sit-ups and work out and exercise, I would be slightly resentful. And I think I would do the whole I'm going to go for a run. Want to go for a run? And she'd be like shoveling food into her mouth. I'm like, oh, aren't you getting full there? Come on, let's go running. This will be fun. So that's
going to destroy the relationship right there.
Yeah, but that would be I wouldn't be like, get on the scale. How much do you weigh? Because I've actually heard of that happening in a relationship, and it's crazy.
What? Demanding that their partner get on the scale? Yeah, that's not healthy or good.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that guy.
No, so I would try to model proper behavior. And then if they just kept getting fatter and fatter and fatter, then eventually I don't know what I would do.
You're going to try to be a good role model for your partner. Okay, that's fair enough.
So there you go. Another successful hypothetical on the Warren and Bradley Show. I guess that's enough time for the Warren and Bradley Show this week.
I think so.
I've been one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
I've been the other host, Warren Van.
Saying,
don't put on a pound in Brad's presence or he'll break up with you.
That's true.
This has been the Warren and Bradley Show, brought to you by Warren Van and Bradley Victor. For podcast news and information, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Warren and Bradley. Follow the show on Twitter at Warren and Brad. Subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. For episode archives and episode pictures, go to warrenandbradley.com, and to contact the show, write to podcast at warrenandbradley.com.
what, I've got these things to do, I've got this responsibility. But when you have no responsibility whatsoever.
Yeah.
You really don't have an excuse to not do everything your girl tells you to do exactly when she tells you to do it.
Sort of, yeah, but at the same time, if you're not working during the day, when the girlfriend or everyone else you know too is working, it's not like they can call on that time for you to do things.
Yeah, but you can't use the excuse of, I need some time to myself to get these things done that I need to do, you know?
No, you can't. You can't say that, I'm working on something, I didn't have any time to do it today.
Right. So basically your 3-hour bubble baths every day are going to come to an end.
It's weird, though, because I think back on, like, what did I do? What were my days like, And it just kind of, there wasn't a lot to it.
Yeah.
But if you think about, like, any time in your life, like, what's your routine or what's your, like, normal day?
Yeah.
And it's weird to think about because it can really change, but it doesn't make that much of an impact in your life.
It's really depressing to think about. I've been thinking about it recently because basically the normal Bradley day, I get up at 5:45 in the morning.
Yeah.
I make coffee. I sit around drinking coffee and smoking, looking at email, looking at the Facebook page, doing things like that. Go to work, have my soul crushed for a good 8.5, 9 hours, come home, and by the time I'm home now, since it's winter time, it's dark, I look on the internet for a little bit, try to decompress a little bit after work, then I work out for like a half an hour to 45 minutes. By the time I'm done with that, it's usually time to edit some of the podcasts, because I edit probably about 3-4 nights during the week. By the time I've done a good block of that, I take a shower. By the time I'm done with that, it's time to eat. By the time I'm done with that, I've got maybe an hour and a half until I need to go to bed because I have to get up so early the next morning. It's like none of it's particularly fun. None of it's particularly fulfilling. Not really anything to ever look forward to. There's nothing I can look at in the future and say, oh, well, when I get to go on my vacation or maybe I'm going to go on a date with somebody or do something. Yeah. There's nothing. It's just an unending road laid out in front of me without any variation in the scenery
until you
whatsoever.
eventually die.
Yeah.
But that's life,
I don't think it is for everybody. I think some people have things that they look forward to.
No, but I do think it has more to do with, like, your attitude of what your life is than it has to do with, like, what your life is.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, but there are things I do enjoy, or I have enjoyed in the past, but I just don't have anything like that right now.
You have nothing you enjoy right now?
Not really.
Really?
Not a whole lot.
What about your game where you like mine on a video game and stuff?
Maybe it's fun, but it's not something that I'm
well,
gonna
that's
get really
you
excited
enjoying it,
about.
right?
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
Maybe you need some sort of hobby that you can derive joy from.
Well, I mean, I have hobbies.
Do you have joyless hobbies that you treat like work?
There's that condition, what's it called? Anhedonia, where you're unable to derive pleasure from anything. Yeah. I think I have that.
You have that? Well, it depends on what you're talking about with pleasure, too. I think you get some sort of, like, sense of satisfaction when you do things, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel as though I've accomplished things, but if I think about it too much, then I realize that the things I've accomplished are completely meaningless.
But that's true. That would be true if you were doing anything.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's completely true.
Well, I think if I had accomplished, having sex with a beautiful and attractive woman, then I wouldn't think that was meaningless.
But it is meaningless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. So I can't remember. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago we had the section on the paper that had been published about how people are evolving to become stupider.
Yes.
And actually, typical Warren retirement day, what time would you get up in the morning?
I was still getting up pretty early. Well, actually, it was later now the weather's bad. But when the weather was good during the summer, I would get up early in the morning, maybe get some coffee.
Like what time are we talking?
Maybe 7 or 8.
Okay.
Go get some coffee, come back to the house, read the news, maybe watch a movie, read a book, go for a walk with the dog. I mean, there wasn't a lot to it. I wasn't doing much of anything. So,
you weren't working on your ship in the bottle or anything like that?
By the time we got into like a week or so ago when someone contacted me about coming back in temporarily, I was like, I guess I can do that.
You had sucked all the marrow you could out of doing absolutely nothing.
Well, the other thing, too, is you stop working and you think, well, maybe I'll like summon some energy for other activities.
Right.
Now I won't be working, but that's not true. I just kind of felt like I just laid around and did nothing.
Well, I have noticed that if you do, not that I ever have any real extended length of time off, maybe sometimes in the winters when work slows down. Yeah. What happens to me is if I do have a big block of time and I'm like, okay, I'm going to fill this with all these different projects, things that I want to try to get done. When you do have time, you kind of put things off because you're not thinking about the crunch. And so like now when I'm working 5 days a week, my weekends are completely filled with little things that I think I need to get done. And I'm always very regimented about trying to do these things. But I think if I were to have a couple weeks off in a row, I probably wouldn't do anything at all.
It really like slows your pace down.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things too where like the slightest little inconvenience or having to do something really feels onerous when you haven't been working for a while. You're like, ugh, I don't want to do anything ever.
How did this work with the girlfriend thing? Because I can still vaguely remember being in relationships in the past, long ago.
The 90s.
And I don't think I ever was in the... yeah, maybe. And the idea that you have to have time for the girlfriend, and if you're working and you're busy, you can always be like, oh, during the last week. So we'll definitely get to that during our Celebrity Minute portion of the podcast. But first of all, Warren.
Yeah?
What's been going on with you?
Not much.
Is that answer ever any different?
No, I can't imagine. Nothing really ever happens to me. I did work this week.
Oh, yeah, so you got called into your old job.
Yes.
They were in desperate need of your expertise.
So I headed in there and I gave my expertise to them.
How did that go?
It was fine.
I know you were maybe worried they would try to make it more permanent.
I think I will be working for a while now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
5 days a week, or?
Yeah, I guess so. I think maybe my extended vacation makes me feel a little bit better now.
Maybe.
And
yeah.
I can actually go to work again.
Really? So
yeah.
For the foreseeable future?
For the foreseeable future, I think. That's what it looks like right now.
Anytime you think you're out. So they pulled you back in?
They pulled me back in.
Did they give you a bump at least a little bit?
I did negotiate some issues.
42 cents
Yeah,
an hour
I wish.
more.
I wish I could get that precious 42 cents. No, but there were some work condition issues that I
right,
resolved.
because basically they had kept piling responsibilities onto you and not paying you any more money was your issue before, right?
Mostly it was just the fact that I was just sick of going to the place all the time.
Yeah.
And some of the people that I had to deal with on a daily basis. But, some time away from it sort of gave me some perspective. Mm-hmm. It's different when you're there at a place for years, right?
Right.
And basically spend your entire life there. Mm-hmm. And you start to get really sick of things, and things build up, and you're like, I can't do this anymore. I can't be around these people or in this place anymore.
Right.
But after a few months off, I decompressed, and I'm maybe ready to work a little bit again.
You're coming out of retirement.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Maybe. Sort of.
No, it's fine.
Were you getting bored during your extended sabbatical? How did you fill your days? We've never really talked about this.
I was doing a lot of reading.
The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
It is magic time. Hello, and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show. I am one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
I'm the other host, Warren Van.
Episode 54 of the Warren and Bradley Show.
What was that?
It was a laugh of joy and anticipation, knowing that we're
for
going to
a
be
great
putting
show
on a great
that's about
show
to
for
come?
our audience.
All right.
Speaking of our audience, we do love you, Warren and Bradley Show listeners.
Oh.
Why don't you show a little love for the Warren and Bradley Show by telling a friend about the show if you enjoy it, and also keep those missives coming to listener feedback. Write to us at podcast@warrenandbradley.com. You can also contact us through our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Warren and Bradley.
Do it for Brad so he can see those numbers go up a little bit, and it'll make him much happier.
Well, we want to interact with our audience. People actually have been sending in links to stories and things like that, which we like. But we also like questions and comments and things. It doesn't necessarily even have to be. A lot of people like sending in Celebrity Minute tips for us. Keep us apprised.
If there's anything you want to hear about celebrity related, make sure you send it in. We'll give you
we
our
actually have
analysis.
a good celebrity story that 2 different listeners sent in.